show is an online forum where authors come and review books and share their views on books. This founder of e-Bookery is Anil Thomas V and Faisal Ibrahim. And today we are meeting after a gap of 4 weeks. Welcome one and all to this 62nd session of e-Bookery show today, Saturday, 18 September 2021. Our program for today is we will have a story first, and then introduction of speakers by Anil sir, and a book review by by Dr. Suchitra Bhattacharya. Dr. Suchitra Bhattacharya will review the book How to Avoid a Climate Disaster. And the second reviewer is Moushumi Bhattacharjee, and she will review the book Freedom's Ransom. Now we start with the story time. Once upon a time, there was a young sports boy hungry for success, for whom winning everything and success was measured just by winning. One day, the boy was preparing himself a running competition in his small village, and two other young boys to compete. A large crowd had gathered to witness the sporting spectacle, and a wise old man, hearing of the little boy, had traveled far to bear witness also. The race started. The boy dug deep and called on his determination, strength, and power. He took the winning line and was first. The crowd was ecstatic and cheered and waved at the boy. The mentor remained still and calm, expressing no sentiment. The little boy, however, felt very proud and very important. The second race was called, and two young, fit challengers came forward to run with the small boy. The race started, and surely the small boy came through and finished once more first. The crowd was ecstatic again and cheered and waved at the boy. The mentor remained still and calm, again expressing no sentiment. The little boy, however, felt proud and important. Another race, pleaded the little boy. The wise old man stepped forward and presented the little boy with two new challengers, an elderly frail lady and a blind man. What is this? Quizzed the little boy. Race, said the mentor. The race was started, and the boy was the sole finisher opposite the two challengers because they were left standing at the start. The little boy was ecstatic. He raised his arms in delight. The crowd, however, was silent, showing no sentiment at all toward the small boy. What has happened? Why people do not take part in my success? He asked the wise old man. Race again, replied the wise old man. This time, finish together. All three of you finish together, continued the old mentor. The little boy then stood in the middle of the blind person and his frail wife, then took both the challengers by hand and he walked. The race began and the boy started walking slowly to keep pace with the blind man and his wife, and he reached the end. He crossed the line and finished the race. The crowd was now ecstatic and cheered and waved at the boy. The wise man smiled, gently nodding his head. The little boy felt proud and important again. Old man, I do not understand, he said. Who are the crowd cheering for? Who is in number one place out of the three? the wise old man looked into the small boy's eyes. Placing his hands on the boy's shoulders, he replied softly, "Little boy, for this race, you have won much more than any other race that you have ever run before. For this race, the crowd did not cheer for any winner." You see, in life, in your life, what are you running for? Are you hungry for success? Is winning the sole measurement for you in your life? Who are you running against? And if you usually win against everybody, then soon people will stop cheering you when you are at the top. For you are already at the top. They will stop cheering you. The question is, who was running next to you during the race? If they were weaker and old, did you help them to cross the line? Did you all finish together? Because that's the simplest race you will ever run. So run this race called life. But don't forget, it is not important if you win, but it is important how you run this race. So how you run this race in your life is very, very important. Welcome viewers once again to the 62nd chapter of e-Bookery. I now invite Anil Thomas to introduce the speakers today.
That was a very, very powerful story, Shamla. Thank you so much for that short story. Brilliant, amazing story. I mean, before I go, anybody wants to talk a few words about that story? I'll leave it open for 2 minutes. Geeta ma'am, you want to talk anything about this?
It's good. It was a very nice, interesting story. Of course, one should set up a goal to achieve anything. Setting up a goal and success is very important, and the spirit inside, the passion, that is very, very important. That's good.
Thank you, Geeta ma'am, for that. Sindhu, you got... Yeah, please.
I just joined, I think in the middle of the story, but the end message was very good, very powerful, like you said. And the moral also, it was very good. That is, as Ritu ma'am said, passion is should be behind everything. And, nice story, Shamla ma'am. Thank you. Very nice. But
Thank
I could
you.
hear only half of it. I would have liked, I had a webinar.
Thank you, Sindhu, and
Yes,
welcome back to one and all. After a gap of 3 weeks, we are back again. e-Bookery is still evolving. Thank you for being in the process. I have two great speakers from India today, Dr.Suchitra Bhattacharya and Moushumi Bhattacharjee. Dr. Suchitra is a good friend of mine and a well-wisher, and above all, a great human being. Very simple and humble. The first book, The Few Climate Crisis books gave us reasons for hope, and this is one of that. Bill Gates has committed much of his time in learning the issues and exploring how we could still strike the main goal of the 2015 Paris Agreement to contain rising temperatures between 1.5 degrees Celsius, between 2 degrees Celsius. That is by 2050. And we got 30 years still left. According to Bill Gates, this is a Bill Gates personal opinion, fossil fuels have to be replaced with renewable energy without much delay. I can't wait anymore. Dr. Suchitra, welcome on to e-Bookery platform, Dr. Suchitra.
Good evening and namaskar to one and all who joined here, and to all the viewers. I would personally want to thank Mr. Anil Thomas, my sir, who's really been so kind enough to introduce me into this particular platform. While Googling, and then I found out, and I was so very impressed with Brain City, which is a team of entrepreneurs who have come up with the idea of finding various ways to basically instill the real education in people's lives. So while the book reviews were going on, I was very much part of it. In fact, a couple of days back, we had a big international level discussion on climatic change. And that is the time when I researched a little more for more statistical data. I came across this book and immediately it clicked that I need to, whatever I've read, I need to express to many so that we all get to know what a scientist also thinks about climate change. Frankly speaking, yes, we are all aware of what's happening, and therefore, I would say the process has started in taking care of the climate. However, I would start the story, like the analysis, the discussion today with a little bit of quotation which I read about him. 2 decades ago, I would have never predicted that one day I would be talking in public about climate change, much less writing a book about it. My background is in software, not climate science. I came to focus on climate change in an indirect way, through the problem of energy and poverty. In early 2000s, when our foundation was just starting out, I began traveling low-income countries with sub-Saharan Africa and South Asia, so I could learn more about child mortality. Why is it so dark out there? Where are all the lights I would see in New York, Paris, Beijing? I learned that about 1 billion people didn't have reliable access to electricity, and that half of them lived in sub-Saharan Africa. I began to think about how the world could make energy affordable and reliable for the poor. My dear friends, this is just a quotation, what I read about him. In this particular book, it is very explicitly saying that it is not you and me alone who's going to survive in this world. If we have to survive, we have to survive together, be it rich, be it poor. When this COVID-19 came in, it did not see the rich country or the poor country, the rich family or the poor family. It went to each and everyone's house, most of them. So there, once something comes from the climate, something's come from the environment, it does not choose rich or poor. It does not choose a country. That is what should worry us. The book, How to Avoid a Climate Disaster, was written, is written in such a wonderful way that he wanted it to be accessible to each and every one who cares about the issue. Beautifully he is written, we have to handhold each other. A rich country will have to take care of the poor country, and only then we can meet this challenge. The global warming that's happening, even if it is happening in India, where so many poor people are actually not getting electricity, or not getting the, I would say, whatever is the progressive countries are having, and if their usage or the population of India is producing the, if it is giving or contributing to the global warming never is stable only in that country. The whole world is seeing what is the effect of global warming, and that is what it really is a big concern. The cost of renewable energy from the sun and the wind has dropped dramatically. There's more public support for taking big steps to avoid the climate disaster than ever before. And governments and companies around the world are setting ambitious goals for reducing emissions. But what he insists on every page, he just tries to say that we can't wait, we can't be slow. We just can't finish off after this discussion. We need to do our part. And each one of us will have to contribute. Beautifully in the book, he said, when it is summers and we are at discomfort, just because we can afford, we are in the AC chamber throughout the day. Do we ever think then that how are we contributing, or how am I contributing to the environment for this climatic change? It's high time that we do so. Of course, each one of us contribute in our own way. Definitely, we are going to reach the goal. By 2050, the whole world will be seeing a different scenario if each one of us do not work. What we need now is a plan that turns all the momentum into practical steps to achieve our big goals. That's what how to avoid a climate disaster is, a plan for eliminating the greenhouse gas emission. So each one of us he insists that each one of us should do our bit to ensure that we play our role in this contribution to stop or decrease the global warming. Whether you're a political leader or an entrepreneur, an inventor or a voter, or an individual who wants to know how you can help, I think we all need to read this book, and definitely will be having that query, having that question, having that zeal to do something, because beautifully data has been given. And as a scientist, as a person like him, is giving such analysis that it will literally scare us. And that is what is required. We need to get scared sometimes, and we need to work on it, so that at least those children who are there today, our students, our children, should deserve and should get a better world and a comfortable zone for them to enjoy their life too. We've had ours. So let us ensure that we give our children, we give our next generation a better cushioned life and a better society, a better environment, because that is what they deserve. He says that greenhouse gases is making the temperature rise. But cyclical variation on other factors, when we see that, naturally prevent a true climate disaster. And it is hard to accept that as long as humans keep emitting any amount of greenhouse gases, temperatures would keep rising. The world indeed needs to provide more energy so that the poorest can thrive, but we need to provide that energy without releasing any more greenhouse gases. So how is this possible? There are many chapters who are dealing with it. I'll just come to it. The world needs, now the problem is actually even hard, because it wasn't enough to deliver cheap, reliable energy for the poor. It also have to be clean. To avoid a climate disaster, we have to get a zero greenhouse gas emission. How is that possible? We need to deploy the tools we already have, like solar and wind, and faster and smarter. And we need to create and roll out the breakthrough technologies that can take us the rest of the way. We need to reduce our emission. And not only that, we need to eliminate them many a times. So there is a thought which he wants everyone to be having, that how do we do this? This book actually suggests a way forward, a series of steps we can take to give ourselves the best chances to avoid a climate disaster. It breaks down basically into 5 parts. First part is why zero. In chapter 1, basically, he explains more about why need to get down to zero, including what we know about how rising temperatures will affect people around the world. And the bad news is getting zero will be really hard. But he always says in the book, he's given such analysis that it is hard, though it is not impossible. And we have to ensure that we make it possible. How to have an informed conversation about the climate change. In chapter 3, basically, he has some statistics, which is a little confusing though, but definitely it is very, very understanding or easy for each one of us to understand how we can go about it. And the good news is we can do it. In chapter 4 to 9, he elaborately talks about how it can be done. Technology can help and where we need that breakthrough. This is the longest part of the book I've seen, because there's so much to cover in this particular book. And the solutions that we need to deploy in a big way now. And we also need a lot of innovations to be developed and spread around the world in the few decades. Stop, we can take now. It is a must read for each one of us here, and of course, spread it out to others. First, we have ambition, thanks to the passion of a growing global movement led by young people. I would like to tell you here, like I am coming from the senior secondary school level. Children are very conscious about these days. You know, the youngsters are really conscious, and they want to do quite a lot. But if they see you and me not following, not taking that endeavor, I think even then we are diverting their ideas, and therefore we need to support them. Now we need the third component, a concrete plan to achieve our goal. Just as our ambitions have been driven by an appreciation for climate science, any practical plan for reducing emissions has to be driven by other disciplines. We can't exist alone, never. Like even in schools and colleges, we've seen it's interdisciplinary education, you see. So everything, he's a scientist, physics, chemistry, biology, engineering, political science, economics, finances, and many more, like you, me, poets. As we know from beginning also, like when we think about the freedom fighters, there were many who fought at the battlefield. And coming from the army background, I know so much that's going on even now. But there are many more stronger I would say freedom fighters, country people who are associated deeply with their own country is through pen. And that is, I think, what e-Bookery is also doing. The way we are showcasing the talents of people writing with their own pen, their voice, which is dealing with the various issues, like we had one day transgender issues, we had the women empowerment, small things, but when written, I think that's a great job that we are doing. Similarly, here, we alone cannot do anything. We have to raise our voice so that those in power, those in position get to know, do our bit, and definitely all of us together, as I said, whether you are in the political leader, whether you're doing financing, whether you're in the science department, all of us, researchers, educators, normal citizens should all come together and ensure that we all contribute in a strong manner to stop and reach the zero level. Bill Gates sets out a wide-ranging, practical, and accessible plan for how the world can get to zero greenhouse gas emission in time to avoid a climate catastrophe. Excellent eye-opening book. It is truly, it's a must go. In fact, when we think of Bill Gates, and there are many people who may not be knowing exactly how to go in science, and you may not be interested because everyone may not have the same interest. But this is absolutely a different thought process. If you love reading, you'll love that book. A beautiful example, like if a frog is set in placed in a boiling water, you know, the water or maybe warm water, and you are putting into the flame, the water gradually gets warm, and then ultimately he dies. That is exactly what is happening to us, what is about to happen to us. So that should be an alarm for each one of us here today, and definitely we need to do something once again. It's a very well structured book, and with depth of analysis, with clarity on what each of us, how each of us can contribute to have a net positive CO2 emission to reduce the overall impact of earth warming due to human activities. Don't think twice, you must go ahead and read it. Here we have to understand that you might say, what are the steps that we can do? Yes, there are many things that, as I mentioned in the beginning, you and I can do is when we are going for in every well-off cities. In fact, in India, it's quite a lot where, especially in my city, the Delhi, every house has got 3 to 4 cars. The husband takes one in the morning, the wife goes to her office, or maybe for her to solve her needs with another car, and the child again is sent to the club or the playground or the school with another. One house, 3 members, 3 cars. Why can't we do anything? Did we ever thought of this? We are busy thinking of our comfort zone because I am able to afford that. My dear friends, the strong message in this particular book is so strong, and I personally feel that each one of us should think, I alone can't survive. As I said, again, I'll give an example. When COVID-19 came, all my 3 cars were outside in the garage. I couldn't go out. So each one of us need to think how I can do, what food I can have so that the animals are protected. How can I contribute in the manner of using my vehicles, using my ACs, and many other things which we know that for today, for me, it is very pleasant. However, this has a strong effect on the environment of the country and definitely of the world. The book sends a clear message on what needs to be done, expanding the supply of innovation, and that will create new markets. Appropriate policy actions can create incentives for research, infrastructure, and early adoption of green technologies, hence the need to work on technology. Policy and markets simultaneously, governments, corporates, citizens, consumers, employees, employers have key roles to play in a chapter which says what each of us can do. There is no room for politics. Humanity, humanity, humanity. Humanity needs to unite to save the beautiful planet, our sweet home. Time is not on our side. Therefore, we need to act. All of you, please try and see if you can read the book, and definitely you will find it very interesting. And I am very confident after reading the book, you will take 2 to 3 steps from your own side to ensure that you give your contribution in stopping the climate change and contributing yourself to the zero emission. By 2050, if we can't do that, we are actually in big danger. That's in short that I would like to say about the book. I will be waiting for many questions if you have. And once again, friends, before I stop down, I would once again say that it's not only this particular book that you must read. There are many articles available. You need to Google it out. And I'm telling you, it's going to be more of an addiction to you to find out what all is happening and what all I, as a responsible, as an educated citizen, can do. And I think we need to do that. Those who are here are actually good readers, and therefore we are here today. Please spread the message, because you and me alone will not be able to do. Everyone will have to join hands together. Instead of having a blame game that this is what our country is, this is what needs to be done, let me do it. Let me spread it out to my community. Let me spread it out to my students. Let me spread it out to my colleagues to say that I need to play my part. Trust me, I will tell you, I have taken some steps, and I want you to do it and join hands with me. That's all from my side as an analysis. Thank you so much, Anil sir. I hope we could discuss on this climatic change. And I'm here now. If you have any questions, you may please ask. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Suchitra ma'am. Thank you for this wonderful review of the book. And it sounds very scary at 2050, how the climate is going to be. It is really very scary. Important steps have to be taken now to avoid that disaster. Anyone has any questions for Dr. Suchitra, or you want to provide any feedback, please come forward.
Thank you so much, Dr. Suchitra. It is actually a very relevant book in this era, especially the last 2 years since COVID hit us. It is a very practically written book, I think. Definitely we'll all read that book. Plus, all we have to do is we have to have a collective responsibility for this. We can't win the battle alone. Like you said, like it is written in the book, it is a collective responsibility for all. And we can, of course, after 2-3 years, maybe the COVID virus, everything will go off. But the battle with the environment, it will remain always. But only if we are together, we can fight it out. Thank you for presenting such an amazing book.
Thank you so much. In fact, as I said, we need to ensure that it's not only our emission is less, we need to ensure that the poor gets what they deserve. That is something, again, we need to understand. Why do we want to get zero? Because every bit of carbon, frankly speaking, we put into the atmosphere adds to the greenhouse effect. So we need to take care of the electricity, the plants, the LED. I mean, we need to ensure that why instead of using a light, we can put an LED. And if it really doesn't solve our problem, just because I wanted the place to be very bright, I need to compromise somewhere. Yes, I think someone is wanting to ask something.
Yes, Ravindran, sir, please go ahead, sir.
Good evening. Thank you for the opportunity. For me, this is the first time that I'm attending a book review session. And it's an honor to be here. And I listened to each and every word Dr. Bhattacharya has mentioned. And it is absolutely correct. I don't think you have said something new or something, but what we need to know is that we all need to inculcate habit. For example, I was away from my village for almost 4 decades, and I'm now coming back and enjoying a retired life back in Kerala. I find my own neighbors or the next person, they're reluctant and they're asking me a question, why are you cleaning the road? This is not October 2nd. So I used to say, look, my friend, it's not necessary you have to be on October 2 to clean your road. If you are able to keep your environment clean, neat, and if you definitely, someone else will also join. In India, I find after living so many years away from India as well as in India, outside my village, I find we all feel that other person has to do it, not my responsibility. I myself, in my own humble way, trying to change that, not by requesting anybody, but trying to do it myself. And probably someone may join. Even if nobody joins, I still be happy that my environment, the nearby area, the road and the gate and the next house is always clean. One day, definitely we all need to take such step slowly, so that people will definitely join and it will become a big movement. The biggest example is when Narendra Modi has taken over that we need Shauchalaya, not Devalaya. So I think in this connection, this book is very, very apt. It's a reminder as well as it is also giving you examples and ideas how to go forward. So everybody should read this book. I will ensure that I read myself this book, at least by downloading it. Thank you very much once again for the opportunity.
Thank you so much, sir. I think you will definitely motivate a few children of your area, if not the seniors, because they have a mindset. But little children can be motivated, and a great job. In fact, in this book, he did mention about the various steps taken by many countries, and Modi ji has been instrumental in putting it together. In fact, it is said that today mission innovation is something which is very deeply mentioned here, and he praised that if such steps are taken and we citizens follow it, that's going to be a great step ahead.
Yes.
So
definitely, one by one, everybody will follow one day. I wanted to be at least, if nobody is here, even if in his language, so definitely people will join, and thank you very much once again.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, Ravindran, sir. And thank you, Sindhu ma'am, for your feedback. I would like to now invite Anil, sir, to introduce the second speaker.
Before that, maybe I can call Zena. Zena represents another generation, new generation. So maybe let me hear from Zena. Zena, how committed are you for this course, this noble cause?
Hello, can you hear me?
Yeah, go ahead.
Yes.
Well, I'm actually outside of my home right now, and there's a little bit of Wi-Fi. But so, is there any breakage?
No, you're perfectly all right. You go ahead.
Okay, so I joined in a little bit late, but I was able to hear a little bit of the book review, and I felt like, she was like talking like really natural, like something like she wrote, and I was like really hooked on the presentation, and I feel like I absolutely loved listening to it.
Okay, right. Thank you so much, Zena. Okay, all is not less lost, still not lost. A few statistics I want to actually present it to you. During the COVID-19 pandemic, we are still not out of it. The CO2 emissions dropped by 7%. That's a good number. And but at the same time, the CO2 in the atmosphere hasn't been this high in 3 million years. This is something that to be worried. And heat waves are 30 times more likely to occur as a result of climate change. Sea levels, this is another area of concern, are rising 3 millimeters every year. That is the fastest rate in 3,000 years. So this is, we need to understand all these facts and figures. Now coming to the second speaker of the day, Moushumi Bhattacharjee, author, teacher, and above all, she's a homemaker. She's going to present a very wonderful book today. Prafulla Roy has written this book. Is awarded by the Sahitya Academy. He's a prolific fiction writer in Bengal. Prafulla Roy's writings depict powerfully and authentically the prevailing realities in both urban and rural situations. And he has written more than 150 books, including novels and short stories. Many of Roy's fictions have been filmed, and few of them bagged of national and international film awards. So book is set. This particular book is present in Jharkhand, and is about rural India where two worlds exist. We know that landlords and landless born laborers. So let me welcome Moushumi Bhattacharjee onto e-Bookery platform. Welcome, ma'am. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you for giving me this platform, Anil Thomas. So can I can present my views before the book lovers of the world. Okay, when you asked me for this, actually, at that time, you gave me that, you asked me to do a review of any book of my choice. This book actually was originally written in Bengali. So I had, as a Bengali, I had read this book in Bengali also. And then somehow I found this book. Actually, I didn't have any idea that this has been translated in English by John W. Hood, who is an Australian writer born in Melbourne. But he has done his thesis paper on Indian stories, Indian novels. So my son, he brought this book from somewhere. And when I read this book, actually he has written, John W. Hood, his writing is so lucid, so clear, that I didn't found any difference when I read this book again after so many years. I found the same setting, same type of essence, everything. He has retained the essence of Prafulla Roy. Actually, Prafulla Roy, I want to tell something about Prafulla Roy. He came from East Bengal, the erstwhile East Bengal. And after partition, naturally, when he came to this country, he experienced pain and poverty. And after that, he was always eager to know more about the people of our country. So he traveled a lot among the tribals. Even he came to Nagaland. he stayed with the tribals of Nagaland, Chota Nagpur Plateau, then Jharkhand areas, Bihar. So he experienced the pain and the poverty that they are going through, and he could relate something to his own also. So most of the books that he has written has something to tell about the common people of our country. So here I want to say that though this book has been written completely about a community, Dosad community, which are said to be untouchables. Actually, we have caste system in India, we know, and there are many untouchables and others, and such types of differentiation that we make in our country. And these stories about a community, Dosad community, who are untouchables. But when one reads this story, this novel, one can find the similarity between the differentiation made between between human beings in other countries also. We can see here we say caste system, but when we go to the other countries, even in developed countries, we can see there is class system. So we can find such differentiation. So when I got this chance to do the review of the book, only this book came to my mind, and I found it so good, so nice that I could present it before such a wider audience. So this is all about, already Anil Thomas has said, it is based on Jharkhand, some part of, I think, Chota Nagpur Plateau and Bihar also. And we can see a constant struggle of the deprived to survive, defying every odds in this novel. And however, it is not only the mistreatments on the poor and downtrodden that the writer wanted to focus on, but also he exposed the petty cruelties that cruelties and deceptions that the disadvantaged sections so often inflict upon each other. It is said that a charitable heart takes a backseat when one's stomach burns with hunger. The novel begins with a group of bonded laborers tilling the land and turning the hard, dry soil of the earth under a scorching sun. And just adjacent to the agricultural field, there is a highway which is dusty and the gawky, and also we can see that trucks and buses are running through the road, making the environment polluted. Noise pollution is there, then dust pollution is there. So the Dosads are actually the victim of the abusive system of bonded laborer who are bound to follow their masters' dictates because of their monetary indebtedness to their master and their abject poverty. Their debt would never shrink. We know when people are uneducated, they are unable to just judge how much money they have taken and why their money never, why their debt never shrink. The loan that they would take for marriages or performing certain rituals would swell to a surprising level every time, from which these ignorant, illiterate people would never come out in their lifetime. Bonded labor is among the abuses of modern India and many other countries that the law seems unable to completely eliminate. In this system, people are employed where they are paid basic rations, minimal clothing, and almost no wages for their mere subsistence. They are compelled to live a miserable life so that they would they could be used according to their master's wishes. As per the settings, the story revolves around a period almost 30 years after India's independence. That means maybe it was it was plotted on 70s. So that time, Javandari system, we know, or landlord system was completely abolished after independence, but still it has its spectrum spread over the poor and unprivileged in many states of our country, which recounts the days of the Tsarist serfdom of Tsarist Russia. The rich and the wealthy always finds a way to escape the eyes of the law, and in fact enjoys their position in the society. Their palatial homes are stark and often depressing contrast to the dingy shanties of the untouchables, undernourished and scantily clad people who shed their sweat and blood to fill up the granaries of the rich. Still, there is no sign of discontent or a spark of revolution that we could see amongst these appallingly deprived people. They walk for miles over the hot and dry soil day after day to collect water and wild leaves and fruits to satiate the hunger of their families. As the free rations that they get from their masters are too meager to fill up the tummies of the whole family. There are occasional alleviations in their life, mostly, we know, during the election season, when they are lured, enticed, and because of their votes, we know every adults, irrespective of caste, creed, rich or poor, have the right to vote in India. So that time they are lured, enticed, given goodies so that their masters could win the election. The mere touch of generosity makes the deprived section that time overwhelmed with joy and devotion towards their master. The petty sweets that their master Raghunath Singh, who is the zamindar actually here in this novel, serves them with his own hand and then gives a day off from the grueling work in the field, which are actually beyond their expectations, fill them with childlike joy. Though the elders of the community are well aware that after the elections are over, these privileges that they are enjoying now would be taken away immediately by their master. Still, the season becomes festive and they indulge themselves in dreaming indulge themselves in daydreaming, forgetting their woes, and hoping a decent life after the election. Here in this novel, we find a young man of 23 years, the protagonist of this story, Dharma. He cherishes secretly a wish to free himself and his fiancée from the inherited debt. Here, why I am saying inherited? Perhaps his fiancée's father has taken some debt years ago, and that debt would swell to an enormous level. And because their parents are unable to work at that time, so they have to repay the debts of their father. So here, that is why I'm mentioning here that it is inherited debt. So he was just dreaming to just repay the debt, inherited debt of both the sets of parents and free themselves from the clutch or from the bondage, from this bondage, and would live a decent life somewhere in some state in India. So for that, he would toil all day long. He would go for catching wild animals, and even cubs of tiger, risking his lives, and he would sell them to some foreign tourist, and he would catch some birds, which he would sell them to the contractors, that those who are working in the nearby sites, and would try to make some money to repay the debt. But when he actually went to repay the debt, he saw that his debt swelled and he was unable to repay the whole debt, so whole money. And so again, from the next day, he started toiling in his master's land. Again, still cherishing the dream that one day I'll be successful in repaying the debts. His role model here is a boy called Gunnar, who actually just left this bondage. He went away somewhere in some other state, and he was a role model for Dharma. But Dharma didn't have that courage to defy his master's wishes or anything, so, and go out from that place with his fiancée. So he thinks that let me repay the debt, and that then only I can settle somewhere in India. The story of Dharma and his master Raghunath Singh seems too familiar, as one can easily recollect some instances which were witnessed in person or being informed through several sources about the social economic disparity between these two echelons of the society. In India, it is the caste system I told you earlier, and in some other countries, it is the caste system, by which the society ascertains the social status of a person, and accordingly he or she is dealt with. The lower strata of the society everywhere are ignored, despised, they are underfed, are unprivileged. But it is a bitter truth that the disadvantaged class serves as the pillar on which the big opulent mansions of our society stand high. The Raghunath Singhs of our society know well they prosper only because of the labor and relentless support of this unprivileged section, yet they cautiously keep them away from all awareness and comfort to ensure that their autocracy is never questioned. Rebels like Gunnar, who dared to raise voice against the feudal authority and break free even after draconian punishments, becomes role model of dharmas. But it takes generation to stand against the system and voice one's dissent. These are the evil of democracy that I will say here, where wealthy and corrupt Raghunath Singhs get elected to power, banking on the votes of the oppressed and compliant subjects, and enjoy every luxury, even the judiciary deals softly with them. The cries of the unprivileged are seldom heard, as the law gets sold in the hands of the criminals. The novel highlights the tainted features of our society, which is being carried on from ages. Only the categorization changes in accordance with the prevailing time period. So this is the plot actually, where we can see the atrocity of the master, and how the underprivileged or the weaker sections are facing this atrocity still they are unable to leave them because of their dependence on their master. Their masters are also dependent on these poor people because every petty things they are going to do for them. And still, we can see such a wide gap in their living standard. Even we see that the children of this oppressed class are somehow never allowed to go to schools. I'm a teacher, and I have seen, I'm a teacher of a government school, and naturally, all the most of my students are from the labor class. They come to the school, but the dropout is too high because the parents, they insist that these small boys or girls should go to the field or go to work to some his or her master's house so that they can earn some money, for more money for them. And after 3 or 4 years, they are forced to just leave the schools. So these instances I'm quite aware of, and I see we are trying to just put back these type of disadvantaged children to our school. But sometimes we face opposition or from the parents themselves. They don't want to send their children anymore to school. They feel that because we have always seen that the poorer class or poor sections have more children, more number of children, and they are unable to feed these all the children. So they insist that the children should leave the school and work in the field or in some hotels or somewhere else as a cleaner in bus stands or something like that. So we have to, lastly, I want to say that we have to break free these unprivileged class from these situation. I know that some people have to go, some capitalists should be there. According to the one's own merit, people just climb the ladder and become rich. But they should not step on the shoulders of the poor to become rich. So this is my conclusions for this novel in this review. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Moushumi ma'am, for this wonderful review of the book. It is really very a tragic state to see the oppressed people are still denied opportunities to come out of the clutches of the rich, and they are still not allowed to have a proper education so that they know, they can understand things. They are so suppressed that they don't understand what is happening outside of the world. They are closed inside that whole unit. Thank you very much, Moushumi ma'am, for this wonderful review. I would now like to invite anyone from the audience.
Let's call Major Narayan.
Yeah. Major Narayanan? Major Narayanan, are you there?
Okay. All right, Venkat sir, are you there? Before we conclude the session, yeah, please, yeah.
Hello.
Yes.
Can you hear me?
Yes, sir, we can hear you.
First of all, thank you very much. And it was a pleasure being back here after, like Ms. Thomas said, almost 3 weeks or 4 weeks, I'm not too sure. I myself have been out doing something or the other. That's the problem. We are doing too many things nowadays with the advent of the internet. But nevertheless, it is always a pleasure to be back and to connect back to Brain City. So I without much delay, I would like to thank Moushumi Bhattacharjee ma'am for the wonderful book review that she gave on the touching story. And indeed, it was really something which was touching the depths of our soul. It was about Javandari. We all know that, how it has been prevalent in North India, in Bengal, Bihar, and now Jharkhand. It's a scourge, and it needs to be removed. There are a lot of stories. In fact, I draw parallel with a book which I read in childhood, Roots by Alex Haley, on how the Negroes were kept as captives in ships and shackled to the ships and made to for months to row the ships. So I think our Bandhu laborers also face the same tragedy of never being able to repay their debt, and living in debt and dying in debt, not just for one generation but for several generations. And it really touched my soul when Moushumi ma'am said that capitalism may be okay for some, but not at the cost of climbing on others' shoulders. So certainly, I think very well brought out, ma'am, and thank you so much for this wonderful review and opening our eyes to this scourge of humanity, as I say. Thank you.
Thank you.
Let's call Jayan Sir. Jayan Sir is also coming from the northern side, so maybe he will have something to add to.
Yeah, hi, I'm still here. Okay, today, of course, great opportunity to be here. Am I audible properly?
Yeah,
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes.
Firstly, Moushumi ma'am, it's a great book, of course. I was to leave out, but when I read this heading, Freedom's Ransom, it was, I think, very captivating for me. I said, let me hear this as to what is this. And I think this story is, I can correlate both the books in that manner. The caring for the climate and also this Freedom's Ransom. I think they have a lot of, conceptual level similarity into that. And that's where what freedom we are talking about. I think the larger lesson from the book is certainly there. And yes, I've seen that. My house is in a village in Bihar, and one has traveled across the nation actually in the remote areas by virtue of my previous profession. And it is that the freedom given to people and how we use that freedom. If I so-called I'm little rich or I'm growing, and I don't really realize as to what is this effect going to be there. And that is where it is that I was trying to correlate both the places that, the Freedom's Ransom. This is, of course, given in one context. But I was trying to only relate that how much we are exploiting or using that freedom to ourselves. And it is at what cost? Are we really realizing of being human or our existence? And in what manner? So I think it gives out a very great lesson, Moushumi madam, I think, and so beautifully presented by you. I think it was very nice that, where the dissimilarities in the societies, or whether we were born to be here as part of the nature with a lot of similarities of being human or being part of the nature in that manner. So I think it's a wonderful book with a message, certainly. And this I correlate only with the first book. Of course, today is the day of Bhattacharjees and Bhattacharyas. So I was trying to correlate that, both the issues are so soft, actually core issues with a very hard-hitting element. So I think it's a credit goes to both of you, of course, that, you have selected such a great theme, Dr.Suchitra ma'am. And, I only am reminded of the days in my life journey, and I'm sure majority of us would have. I had only read Cloudburst in the books. We only read in books Cloudburst, Badal Patna. But today, you keep hearing Cloudburst here, Cloudburst there, and Cloudburst there, and I myself see in being into that area. I'm talking in Tripura, and I was caught into a cloudburst, and I cannot forget that. How the entire jungle was like, chopped like this. And I was fortunate that, we could not move, and I was to evacuate that. An entire, maybe thousands of trees had fallen onto the road, entire electricity. What devastation! It is, one has to see to believe it. And that's what I'm trying to say, that people who are so-called fortunate or enjoying that freedom, we were sitting in our houses comfortably. It's okay, light was not there. But what about others? What wrong they have done? But that calamity has taken place because of whom? It is not from those people. I'll not call it them. We have made them as underprivileged. Actually, they are the people who are highly privileged. They respect, we have been respecting nature, sun, water, we plant a tree. This is actually the tradition actually taken from them. And when so-called the people who are successful or freedom, when we are in a crisis, we go and actually pray there. So, it is a cycle which we need to realize. It's a very simple understanding. It is unfortunate that we are human beings. We do not understand till the time it is having an effect on me. So, cloudburst is there. We used to travel earlier. We never carried water. We used to get on a platform. We used to drink water like this and go off. One never thought that you have to carry a bottle. Today, if you say, come on, you say, come on, Baba, which, type of life you are talking? You cannot think of moving. So actually, these are the effects of that. First thing which you carry is the water. Corona, of course, showed that what is most important in life is that oxygen, okay, so simple. And breathing. So point is that I think nature and in entirety, both the concepts that are there that, we must understand the nature and the similarity or the concept with which we are all coexisting as a part of the nature, that needs to be understood. And to what extent that freedom must be used in what manner. And that's where, the similarity and dissimilarities and freedom's captivity or ransomness in the freedom and whose freedom. It's a wonderful, I think, I, of course, enjoyed this evening. Moushumi ma'am, thank you, and Dr. Suchitra. It was a great pleasure. And Anil, of course. I think the credit goes to you because you carry out a lot of selections in that. So, and Shamla ma'am, yes, your story was, of course, so stellar to start with. Thank you very much, Anil.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much. In fact, truly speaking, too many Bhattacharjees together today, but somehow it was great listening to ma'am too.
Yeah, thank you so much. It's so unfortunate that we still carry on with the Zamindari system. This was introduced in 1793, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, by Lord Cornwallis, actually, by the Britisher. And they had, of course, they had their own reasons to implement the Zamindari system, but we still go ahead with the system. Wonderful book again. I think the time to conclude the session. Shamla, please take over.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone, for this wonderful session. And thank you for taking your time to come and attend this session today. We all had a really good review. We are taking back with us a wealth of knowledge today. And we hope to have more of these sessions in the coming days. Hopefully in the 3 weeks, we will have one more session to look forward to. Thank you very much. And we now close the session today. Have a good evening, everybody.
Thank you, Dr. Suchitra. Thank you, Moushumi ji. Thank you for joining, and we'll see you soon.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Anil.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you very much. It was really a pleasure.
Good night.
Good night. Good night to all of you.
Thank you, sir. Good night.
Have a great day.